Today we're going to be looking at what might happen if China decides to invade Taiwan. Now in the news, apparently there has been leaked plans which show China mobilizing and preparing to invade Taiwan. And if these plans are true, then this is a scary thing. This isn't much like Russia and Ukraine. Now the reason that Ukraine and Taiwan are different is because Ukraine was a recently democratic country and has been more recently aligned with the West, whereas Taiwan has been aligned for a very long time, all the way back to when Taiwan was kicked off of mainland China and onto the Taiwanese island. And those strong relations still hold, with a lot of countries saying that they would defend Taiwan, the United States included. Now this has been a recent policy change within the United States, and it is kind of unknown whether or not it's for real or not. But at this time, the US has stated that it would defend Taiwan, and yeah, that's that. So with China possibly mobilizing for an invasion of Taiwan and the United States stating that it would defend Taiwan, we have ourselves a possible global conflict here. Like I said, today we'll be taking a look at what will happen when China invades Taiwan. Alright, and starting off, of course, we have the People's Republic of China declaring war on the Republic of China. This comes after a lot of leaked intel and a lot of buildup of Chinese troops in the southern region of China, and we finally have the war breaking out. The Chinese Navy takes complete control over the Strait of Taiwan, and as well as that, they also set up coastal defenses all over their coasts. Assuming that what the US said is held true, we have the United States joining the war on the side of Taiwan. So now, two of the arguably most powerful countries in the world are at war. And with this, the world is extremely scared because these two countries are also one of the top manufacturers, of course, number one being China, and then the United States is not too far behind. So US troops depart from the United States and start heading over towards China. This is a very swift mobilization, as the US once again has sworn to protect the island with United States troops, but unfortunately we do have the landing of Chinese troops on Taiwan. Now this is just for them to establish a beachhead on the southern end of the island, as the northern end is bound to be more fortified, as you know, Taipei lays right there. But luckily for Taiwan, the United States is not too far out when it comes to delivering troops to the island. Luckily for the US, they are in a very familiar region and have lots of allies over here, including Japan and South Korea, who all vowed to give the United States their seawater claims so they can use them. Another country which is a close ally of the United States and also lends their seawater is the Philippines, who are also gearing up to join this war as to end China's aggression in the South China Sea. Down south, we actually have Australia joining this war on the side of Taiwan, as the United States and Australia hold close relations when it comes to countering China in this region of the world. In addition to this, there's also the Quad Alliance, which is a economical or strategic alliance that is aimed at preventing China from doing things that China wants to do. Countries within this alliance includes the United States, India, Australia, and Japan. So as of now, India stays out of the war, but we do have Japan joining this war. Back over in Taiwan, we have Chinese troops continuing to push up the coast of Taiwan until only the northern half remains. It is also at this time that both Japanese and American troops arrive on the eastern side of the island. They make a landing in Taipei and start to push down towards the Chinese troops. At this point in the war, we have North Korea joining this war on the side of China as to help their ally and to also kind of, you know, maybe take back this. With this development, we have all of the North Korean coast going over to China, which greatly increases their control over this region. In turn, with North Korea joining the war on the side of China, we have South Korea joining the war on the side of Taiwan. Now, you could probably guess why. So now, some major naval battles are occurring over here in this area. The Yellow Sea, with both sides kind of struggling to gain naval superiority, although the blue team does have the advantage here. We have Russia heavily supplying China because, you know, they're busy elsewhere as of right now, and they don't join this war for that very reason. Back down to Taiwan, we have the blue team making an offensive that pushes China back out of northern Taiwan, but a stalemate is established halfway through the island. Even more south from here, we have the Philippines finally joining this war on the side of the United States and Taiwan. And with this, the United States aims to take control of the South China Sea, although that might be against some kind of maritime law. But what is established is a link between the Philippines and Japan, and this essentially creates a ginormous blockade against China. Now, as I said, China is a major exporter to the world, and the economies around the world are kind of suffering from this war. But in addition to this, they're also being kind of controlled by the West at this point, since, you know, this entire blockade does exist. But anyway, back over in South Korea, we have South Korean troops pushing up into the north. And back down south in Taiwan, we have Chinese troops managing to push back the blue team troops. The blue team manages to take control of this entire chunk of ocean over here, and essentially a naval blockade is set up along this straight line right here. In the north, we have the Chinese Navy pushing back against the blue team Navy, essentially giving them some coast coast on South Korea, which leads to a small naval landing near Seoul. This in turn kind of messes up the blue team plans, and they withdraw troops from this region of North Korea. And just like that, we have red team troops setting foot in South Korea, giving them a hold in South Korea. Back up north, Chinese and North Korean troops managed to push back the south, and with this they cross over into South Korea. Seoul is on the brink of being captured, although it does hold out as the Chinese and North Koreans are unable to enter, but due to this the red team starts to seek around the coast of Korea. Around this time in the war, we have both the United Kingdom and New Zealand joining this war, as a defensive pact between them, the United States, and Australia exists, which once again is aimed at preventing China from doing what China wants to do. Now when it comes to the allies of China, they do have some, but most of them are a lot weaker than China itself, and such countries include Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia, Pakistan, and as well as a lot of the Middle East. But at this point, they don't see a point in joining this war, as China is the aggressor, and also they have a bad experience with somebody, or maybe somebody has a bad experience with them, but you know what I mean. But a majority of China's allies choose to stay out of this war simply because they don't want to get captured. I'm not saying it's impossible for China to win, but it's unlikely. Back in South Korea, we have an offensive near Seoul, which pushes back the red team from capturing the city, while also gets them out of the Korean coast. In turn for this, we have a counter invasion, which pushes up into the north. Now at this point, I'm sure in real life that a lot more of the world would get involved, such as maybe Canada and France. But to the extent of this video and as of current, sides and choosings, this is probably what it would look like if China were to invade Taiwan. People greatly overestimated Russia's ability to take Ukraine, as it is still standing 3 months later. So would China be the same way? Probably not. China would most likely have a better strategy down, but nonetheless, we can assume that they would follow the same path as Russia, as these two countries do work closely together. In fact, we actually have China achieving their goal as they kick out the blue team from Taiwan and establish complete control over the island. We also have China asserting some control over southern Taiwan, as well as a little bit of its eastern coast, but this does not hold for long, as the blue team still has contact with Taiwan itself. Over in the north, we have the South Koreans pushing up and capturing Pyongyang, which sets the North Korean country back. Eventually, we have another stalemate being established halfway through North Korea, and we're looking like one big stalemate between China and the West. So after a few weeks of pretty much no one doing anything, we do have the West making a landing on Taiwan. Now this is a very brutal landing, and it is an extremely bloody battle. I wouldn't say it's as bad as D-Day, but it's pretty bad. But with this landing, we have the blue team managing to also kick China out of the waters around eastern Taiwan, and by doing this, hope is granted upon the Taiwanese people. For the next few weeks, we have the blue team making a struggle in order to capture land against China, as they are really defending this land. Eventually a breakthrough is made, and the other side of Taiwan is met, cutting the island into two pieces. Now the problem with this is that China controls the waters around Taiwan, or its western side at least, which means that they can just keep pumping troops and resources in, whereas the West, they can do the same thing, but they are less available with resources, concerning that the United States is all the way across the Pacific Ocean. So while some goods may be coming in from South Korea, Japan, and the Philippines, there isn't as many goods going in from the West as there is goods going in from China. So what does the blue team do about this plan? Well, they just start to take waters around Taiwan. And they're actually very successful in this plan, despite some generals saying that this is going to be a bad idea. With Taiwan completely under the control of the blue team, all they have to do now is kick out any remaining Chinese troops, and they do so pretty quickly, as most of them were evacuated once the blue team completed their domination over the Taiwanese waters. So now that Taiwan is back under blue team control and North Korea is getting slapped, we have China kind of reevaluating their plan here. And that plan is to simply just say no. I think we can all agree here that no one wants this war to ever happen. War between the United States and China would likely be of a similar destruction to a war between the United States and Russia. But surprisingly, I have more confidence in China's leaders not to use nukes than I do in Russia's leader. So a nuclear war escalating from this is probably unlikely. But with China surrendering and leaving the war, we just have North Korea, who is very angry about this. A few days after China officially leaves the war and withdraws from Korea, we have the entire country of North Korea being rolled over by South Korean troops. They attempt to fire all their nukes out, which none of them even hit their targets, and some of them even fail at launch, and another majority were shot down. And with this, North Korea is under the control of South Korea. So let's go ahead and take a look at a peace treaty in which China is forced to attend. Alright, in this peace treaty, we have not much happening on this map other than Korea being united, but we do have some internal things that are changing. First off, Taiwan is recognized by China as an independent country, and with this, a majority of the Western world starts to recognize the island. China does tell its allies not to recognize the island, in which they do follow, but other than that, a lot of these countries, which are either neutral or Western Ukraine aligned, start to recognize Taiwan as an official country, and this is a big deal for Taiwan. In addition to this, they are given a defensive pact with pretty much everyone that helped them in the war, and yeah, so that's what's happening in this video. So as of now, there isn't enough information or, knowledge about the sides or what could happen if China were to invade Taiwan. Now, like I said, this is going to be kind of leading up how my Ukraine videos did. I know it was like, what might World War III look like? What could World War III look like? And then eventually it was, what will World War III look like? So that same escalation might be happening with this series. Hopefully not, but I can probably assume that might happen. And like I said in the beginning, this is not going to be any Ukraine, so prepare yourselves for a world war. This is only if. There's two ifs. First if is if China invades Taiwan, and the second if is if the United States actually defends Taiwan. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. That helps the channel grow and it helps us reach our goals. And I've been saying that a lot recently, and we just hit 47,000 subscribers as of the time of this posting of this video. So thank you guys for that. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.